I'm Jennifer Jones, and I'm going to be co-facilitating our presentation on today. Thank you all so much for joining us today for the Birth Through 5 year-long journey. So our content will focus on the element number 4, which is children as conversational partners. So glad to have everyone here, and we will jump right in. Thank you. And welcome to the Cox Campus year-long journey. This time, I would encourage anyone who has a Cox Campus account to take the time to quickly just log in, as you will have easy access to the resources and supports that we are going to drop in the chat throughout this webinar. So thank you. So as stated earlier, my name is Jennifer Jones, and I am your facilitator. A little bit about me. So I have 14 years in early childhood education, ranging from a classroom teacher to a mentor teacher, coach, and now a facilitator. I also love traveling, shopping, family gatherings, learning about new cultures, and of course, teaching. I'm most grateful for the opportunity to help others grow, learn, and thrive in life, no matter where it takes them. So I'm going to pass it along to my co-facilitator, Miss Jessica.
Hi, I'm so glad to be with you guys today. My name is Jessica Michelle. I'm a birth to pre-K facilitator with Rollins. I have 22 years in the field of education, from teacher to coach to facilitator. I do love to garden, read, travel, be outside. It's a little harder. It's getting a little chilly here to be outside. But I'm just grateful every day that I get to work with educators and coaches and leaders in the field like you all. And I'm excited for our time together today. So before we get really into the content of today, let's do a little roll call. We want to know who's in the room. So our fabulous team today, Sam and Arne, are helping out behind the scenes with the chat and with the tech. They're going to drop a roll call in. And if you'll take just a minute to fill out these questions and just let us know who's in the room, who's a Cox Campus member, what best describes you and your role. So we've got teachers, I see instructional leads, coaches, lots of Cox Campus members. If you're not, don't worry about it. Cox Campus is always here, and it is always 100% free. And you can see the link to Cox Campus there in your chat. You can join at any time. All right. So let's see here. It looks like we've got a pretty good mix of teachers, coaches, and instructional leads. If the poll is not working for you and you want to just drop that information in the chat, feel free to do that. We'll be able to monitor that as well. Super. I see some people dropping psychologists, just different roles in the chat. Thank you guys for letting us know just a little bit more about who you are. And I see, gosh, we're looking at the ecosystem approach to developing the foundation for reading. And so we're looking at the course on Cox Campus. If you've taken it, that's great. If you haven't completed it yet, it's no problem. We're going to take a dive into that content during our time today. All right, thanks you guys so much for engaging in that poll. I'm just letting us know who's in the room. So as we get started, just want to let you know a few of our core values here at Rollins and the Cox Campus. These are going to tie into our work together today, and hopefully you'll see evidence of this through all of our courses and resources and connections on Cox Campus. But our core values are that this would be rewarding and empowering for you as educators, parents, anyone in the field who touches our children, that this would be a safe place that allows you to connect with others, and that this would be essential information, that you would feel that you know that this comes from research, it's backed, it's essential to the work that you do every day in your role. So let's look at our agenda for today. We're going to do a quick icebreaker, and then we'll dive right into the content. An hour is not very much time together, and we want to make sure to equip you with as many resources and as much information so that you'll be able to go back to work tomorrow and possibly implement some of what we talked about today with your students in your center, in your role. We'll go a little bit deeper into the children as conversational partners and the ecosystem elements. Then we'll talk about the talk strategy and close out from there. So let's just go ahead and dive in, and we'll start with a quick icebreaker. So we're on the tail end here in the South of fall. Our leaves are mostly fallen, but I know that we're from all over the world. And so maybe fall looks a little bit different where you are. But I'm going to demonstrate, since we're talking about children as conversational partners, a way to start a conversation with a child or with anyone. I'll notice something, and then I'll make a wondering or ask a question. So I'll start this, and then we would love to hear your responses. You're welcome to come off mute and give your response, or drop your response in the chat. So I would say something if I was trying to start a conversation with you. I noticed that the weather has changed. The temperature has dropped, the leaves have turned, and the time has changed. It's fall. I wonder how you feel about fall. If anyone would like to share how you feel about fall, feel free again to come off mute or drop it in the chat. I, for one, enjoy the leaves changing, but I do not feel very great about cold weather. I'm a warm weather person. All right, I see in the chat, I love to see the different colors. I enjoy the pretty trees. And you can see how just from starting the conversation, both what I noticed and giving a wondering, as everyone gives some response back all over the trees, I like the colors. I could come back with, what's your favorite type of tree in the fall? And we could have an ongoing conversation. I love fall and jumping in the leaves with my grandchildren. So fun. So as you guys are responding in the chat, you can also see in the chat that there's a link there to a resource from Cox Campus. It's called Sentence Starters. And it is there with several different examples of sentence starters that you can use to start a conversation with your children. The particular resource is for infants and toddlers, but you can modify it and use it all the way through your pre-K students. We have so many fall lovers dropping in the chat. Excellent. Well, by all means, keep dropping in your responses there as we move on to the next slide.
All right, thanks, Jessica. So we are going to continue moving on. Thank you for your responses, everyone. So we are jumping right into our first content cluster element of the 9 essential elements that you see on the screen here. And so the one that we're focusing on today is the one that has the yellow star right next to it, children as conversational partners. So for you all who have attended the previous year-long journeys, you probably experienced all of the 3 climate clusters, but today, like I said, we're starting off the content clusters with children as conversational partners. So what is that? So we're going to dig a little bit deeper into what it is and what it looks like, but I'd like to share with you what this element focuses on in particular. So it does focus on the support of children's language development and comprehension. So oral language is made up of receptive or listening and expressive or speaking components. So long before children can express themselves, they begin to understand what's being said. And this is known as receptive language. Once they begin to say the sounds and the words and sentences in their language, they're starting to develop what's called expressive language. So children who are exposed to more than one language are very capable and competent of learning and developing skills in each of the languages that they hear. So an important part of oral language is developing and acquiring some vocabulary. Children develop strong language skills, including vocabulary, through their interactions with others. So interacting with adults and peers in their classrooms. This element involves teachers and adults engaging with children with back and forth conversations, promoting language, just in the same manner that you experienced a little bit of with Jessica's icebreaker. So starting that conversation off with something that's interesting, something that is relatable to the children, that usually kind of sets the tone for the conversation and helps you create that back and forth that you want. So this includes intentional interactions as teachers also read storybooks with children.
Super. So thanks so much, Jennifer, for
You're
introducing us
welcome.
to this closer look at ecosystem elements. If you all have been here for the previous 3 year-long journeys around the ecosystem elements, you've seen snapshots of this document that talk about what each element is and why it matters and what it looks like. But for today, what we would love for you to do is just take about a minute and look here at both what Jennifer went over, what is this element of children as conversational partners, and why is this so important for us who work in the field of early education. And I want you to pay attention to particular words or phrases that might stand out to you here. And the reason we're doing this is that when we as educators or those in the education field, really any adult who know why what we're learning is important, it's so helpful as we're implementing it in our classrooms, in our centers, in our jobs, because we understand the impact that it has on our children. So let's go ahead and look just very quickly here. Find a word or two that stands out that really resonates with you. And we're going to do something fun to see how this text resonates with all of us. So once you see the word or the phrase that really resonates with you, Darnay, our chat monitor, has dropped a link in the chat to something called Mentimeter. It's a website where we can put in our word, our phrase, and it will create this beautiful word map of all of the things that stand out to us as we read what are children as conversational partners and why does it matter so much. So you can click on that link and we'll share the screen and show you what that looks like and what everybody's words are. If you're having a difficult time accessing the Mentimeter, feel free to just drop your words in the chat, and we can either put them on there or recognize them that way. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to show us the Mentimeter, and we'll see what you guys come up with. I'm excited to hear what resonates with you. Okay. Collaborators, engage, development, literacy, partner, express, strong connections, absolutely. Right, as we're talking about children with conversational partners, we're talking about that true back and forth exchange, not talking at a child, but talking with a child. So those strong connections, that collaboration language, engage. All right. See, it keeps coming around, adding some new words here. We've got transactional, absolutely. Reciprocal, that back and forth is wonderful. Yep. We have the language. All right. Love. Yep. You know, a lot of this ties back into those first 3 elements of climate. When we have that transactional, reciprocal love and hope, those feelings, those connections going on with our children, then as we start to really engage in the content with our kids, it's so firmly established. This looks great, guys. Thank you all for putting your words in on Mentimeter and making this word map here. It's a great way just to start thinking about the content that we're diving in today as we look at children as conversational partners.
Okay, guys. So I hope that was fun. So right now we are showing you guys how to annotate because you will be using this feature in the next few slides. So to annotate, I'm just going to have you guys just kind of do a little practice with us. And so you are going to hover over, let me make sure I have it. There should be a view options button at the top here, and there should be something that says annotate. You're going to click on annotate, and from there, you're going to get a bunch of options such as the text to draw, a stamp. So you'll just choose whichever annotation you would like to use, and you will use that on the next slide here. As you see, like so, you can use a star, you can draw, you can use the little check mark. You choose however you want to annotate. That will be helpful for the next slide. Okay, here. So as mentioned earlier, so you're going to put your annotation by anything you want to think more about in your practice. So here, this is just a snippet from our closer look document that we shared a little bit of what was shared, what it looks like. And thank you, Darnay. She put it in the chat so that you can annotate. I see someone already put a star next to something. Thank you. So this is something that you want to keep in mind. This is something that you want to do more of in your practice. So just take a quick glance at the bullets. So someone wants to lift language more, use more of a positive tone of voice with their children, honor all attempts that their children make to communicate. Good. Engage children in conversation to facilitate concept development, meanings. Explain the vocabulary by pointing, acting, and telling children, so using our PAT strategy. I see a cluster of hearts at the top, somewhere around lesson plans, and a huge check mark. So maybe spending more time on focusing with your lesson planning, because that's where it all starts. Good. We see some support for your dual language learners being more intentional. And I see someone wants to do more practice with their children. So initiating and responding according to where they are developmentally. Yes. Complete sentences in English in their children's first language. Great, guys. This is good. Engage with children in frequent back and forth exchanges. Good, good, good. Good to see. And I see some things in the chat. Okay. Just a few more. Asking those open-ended and closed-ended questions as they're developmentally appropriate for your children. This is what we like to see, guys. We like to see everybody thinking about putting these things into practice even more. This is the prime time of the year, the first quarter of the school year. Yep, so a lot of those relationships that you've established, having those meaningful conversations with them will help take their development to the next level. Great job, guys. Oh, good. We even had some more on the next page. It's so colorful all over, everywhere. Awesome. Okay. So we are on our next slide, which is the content cluster, element number 4, children as conversational partners. So with this particular page here, this is also something that is snipped from our ecosystem construction measuring tool. So this is basically how you are rating yourselves, rating your classrooms, your practice, with 1 being emerging. So these are some things that are minimal in the classrooms. So some stuff, maybe on the rare side that you're practicing with your children. And then there is the developing column with some evidence across some of the classrooms, and 3 with established. So teachers show strong evidence across most of their classrooms. So we're going to practice using annotations. I see someone got started. So using their annotations in the same manner. So just kind of thinking about where you are and what you currently do. And just rating yourselves here will give you some time to look over each of the columns here and think about where you are and where you would like to go. So remember, throughout your sites, teachers and other adults engage in children in powerful interactions as conversational partners, serving as rich language models to promote their language learning and development. And so here on this page, there's also some related courses that teachers can take or also use as refreshers if you have already taken them. So you'll see these related courses that'll help build your practice around this particular element. So just get familiar with where these numbers fall as far as emerging, developing, and established. Just thinking about where you are in your practice. And then take some time. I think we have about a minute or 2 for you to annotate where you are and what you'd like to practice more of. So remember, you'll use your annotation tool to share where you feel like you are this year and where you want to work on, what you'd like to work on this school year. So I see some teachers are in the developing stage. We have one in the emerging, which is fine, good place to start. And then you have the columns to the right of you to set goals, make improvements. And we do have some teachers that are established in certain areas. This is good. Okay. Right. So we are going to set a 2-minute timer. I want you to take some time and just think about what you've just viewed on this slide here. And you'll have 2 minutes to annotate where you feel you'd like to work on this particular year. If you've already done so, kudos to you, and we'll give that time to the remaining participants. All right. It looks like we have some hearts and a star too next to the courses. So we have some teachers that are indicating here that they need to either take the course or refresh themselves in those courses to kind of help improve their practice. And so that's always in a good idea to do. So thank you. Okay, so now we are going to shift things over back to Jessica. She's going to jump into the talk strategy.
Thanks, Jennifer. So you guys may be thinking, okay, they've told us what this is, this children as conversational partners. They've told us why it's important and how to look at our classrooms. But how do we actually do this thing? How do we make the children in our care our true conversational partners? So for this section of the training today of our webinar and time together, we're going to dive deeper into one of our strategies from Cox Campus that's called the talk strategy. You'll find this strategy referred to in several of our courses. In the preschool pre-K course options, the conversation around talk is in the course that's called Meaningful Conversations. And with our infant toddler coursework, the course is called Talk With Me. And so it will be referred to many different times. And we'll just dive into what this looks like.
Talking about what the acronym stands for, tune in. Thank you. So the T stands for tune in. This is watching and noticing what is happening with your children or with the child. Remember to be patient, use teacher talk. Use physical proximity, so that means getting close to your children, being okay with them sitting very near, sitting in your lap if necessary, and allowing wait time. So giving children opportunities to process what's happening, what they're sharing, and allowing them to have that airtime so that you guys can have a good start in the conversation. Okay. And the A, that stands for ask questions. So we know developmentally, sometimes some questions we have to be very intentional about what type of questions we're asking the children. So keep in mind that when you are asking children on the younger side, that these questions tend to be more close-ended because they don't have the capacity or the vocabulary yet. And so if you see at the bottom of the slide here, the arrow goes from closed all the way to open. If you notice the pictures, these are the ages of the children. So on the infant, going into their toddler, your older toddler, into your preschool pre-K, those questions tend to shift more to open-ended questions where you can ask those how and why and tell me more type of questions. You want to do some labeling, locating, and noticing with your infants. You want to do some describing and recalling with your younger toddlers. And your older toddlers, you can start going into some comparisons, predictions, judging. And then when they're preschool, pre-K age, you can start to have those why questions where there's more reasoning and opportunities for them to solve problems. I think I saw something come through in the chat that I'd like to lift up. So Ms. Elena shared with us that also for DLLs as well, mostly when they're in the first stages of acquiring language. Thank you, Darnay. So she's chiming in as well and saying absolutely many supports here are strategies that we use when also engaging with our DLLs or our dual language learners. So thank you.
Jen, thanks so much.
Right.
I am circled back in and was bleeding for you guys, making those hand motions as I dropped back off. And so I'm going to just come right back with some more hand motions for you guys. So we tuned in, we had our eyes on what was going on, and for ask questions, now this is a lot more fun if we're in person and we can kind of do the train around the room, but we're going to ask questions. Our hands are just up like we're shrugging to ask those questions. So this is a good way. You heard kind of in our icebreaker, I noticed what was going on, and then I wondered something, which could have been phrased like a question, but sort of in that same way, inviting you to respond to my noticing and my wondering. And that's what we're doing when we're asking questions of our children. But you guys all know, as you've worked with children, if you walk over and your little guy is building with Legos and you just come in and ask a question of, what did you do on the playground today? but the playground was 3 hours ago. He's not interested in that. He's playing with Legos right now. And so when we tune in before we ask a question, we're joining where our children are and inviting them to be conversational partners with us about something that matters to them in the moment. So that's really critical to kind of keep in mind as we're beginning to notice what they're doing, to ask a question about what's going on in their life right at that moment. And then as we go to the next element of talk, our hands are already up shrugging like we're asking a question. The next slide for the next element is that we will lift the language. So you're kind of going to raise the roof there. You guys practice this in your homes, in your offices. But as we lift the language, what we want to do is take where our children are, what they're capable of using in their everyday language, and we're going to give them some new vocabulary. We're going to encourage use of some target vocabulary, maybe some words that we want them to know. And we're going to model well-formed sentences and correct grammar. And this is true in any language. If you have a student who speaks a language other than English and you have adults who are able to speak that language, to model those well-formed sentences and correct grammar is so incredibly important for our children. So you may be asking now, all right, so we're going to push in some new vocabulary and encourage use of target vocabulary, but where are we going to get these vocabulary words, Jessica? I'm glad you asked. So in these courses on Cox campus and through many of our courses, you'll see this vocabulary pyramid. There's 3 different tiers of vocabulary to which we refer. So the bottom, your basic tier 1 words are common words. These are words that your infants and young toddlers need. They need to be able to label the things in their lives, to label the people and the emotions and the actions that they're experiencing on a daily basis. These are words like chair, hungry, happy, nap, mommy, those basic common words. And we find often when we have dual language learners, we need to come back and reintroduce basic common words in the language that's used in the classroom as well. But the vocabulary that we really want to focus on when we're pushing in new vocabulary with children once they're verbal is the tier 2 vocabulary. So these are rich words with high utility. So high utility, it just means that we're going to see them in lots of different contexts in a lot of different ways. And so these words are generally useful. Kids are going to encounter them frequently. And when we look at our children moving way down the road from the time they're 2 and we're introducing these tier 2 words all the way until they're a 3rd grader and they're great readers, they're having to read to understand things. They're reading to learn. And if they're not able to comprehend what they're reading because they don't know the meaning of the words, then it really impedes overall reading. So what we want to do beginning as a 2-year-old is to really push in these tier 2 words. They're simple words like assist, occupied, explore, variety, words that we encounter frequently that are further than the most basic tier 1 words. And then our tier 3 words, we're not going to camp out there today, but those are low frequency, more technical words. If I'm doing a unit on insects and the caterpillar turns into a butterfly through metamorphosis is that tier 3 word. It's a great word to use, but your kids are probably not going to encounter it on a daily basis as they grow. So these are some of the words that we're going to try to make target words as we lift their vocabulary. So if I've tuned in and I notice a child is doing something and I've asked them a question, maybe they respond with, I'm building a tower out of Legos. So my next step is to think, how can I lift that language? Remember, I've asked a question and I need to lift the language next. Maybe my next response is, oh, I see that you're constructing the tower. That means you're building it. Can you tell me how you've done it? So I've lifted the vocabulary by modeling a grammatically correct sentence and introducing a tier 2 word into that conversation. So it's still that back and forth. It's still, like we saw on the Mentimeter, it's still that reciprocal conversation where we're connecting over something that's important to the child. But I've lifted that language a bit. So we're going to give you a chance to practice lifting a little bit of language. You can see here on our golden screen that there are several tier 1 words. These are words that our young toddlers know. They're very basic, but if our child is using them in the context of a conversation with us, and we want to lift that language just a little bit, we could change one of these tier 1 words to a tier 2 word. I'll give you an example. Help. If a child says, would you help me tie my shoe? I could say, I would be happy to assist you or to help you tie your shoe. And so I'm giving them that definition and lifting the language. So now I want you to choose one of these tier 1 words, and you can type it in the chat and then add in a tier 2 word that maybe you could use to lift that language a little bit more. And if you're having trouble with the chat, feel free to come off of mute and just speak your tier 1 and your tier 2 word as well. Right? I see build. We could make construct. I accidentally gave that away in my example, but absolutely. Tired, fatigue, that's a great one. And you'll notice that there are more than one tier 2 words that you can use for some of the same tier 1 words. Exhausted. Happy is ecstatic, elated. Hungry might be starving. So these are just ways that as you're engaging with your kids as conversational partners to increase their vocabulary. Hungry can be famished.
I'm trying to mute these folks. I can talk to these folks about my car. I can't get them out.
Right, leave, you could exit, be dismissed. Big could be enormous. Happy, you're content. Right, and lots of different scenarios, you use different tier 2 words around that. Perfect. You guys are great at these. So as you go back into your day-to-day life with kids to think through, what can I target? What are some words that I really want my kids to understand by next week? Let me see if I can lift the language a little bit so that we can really get their vocabulary built. Vocabulary is a great predictor of later reading success in school. And so we have a wonderful opportunity as early educators to build that vocabulary as we have these back and forth conversations. All right, so this is the best motion that we've got. So we've got the tune in, we asked the question, we lifted the language, and now we're going to keep it going. So you can't see my whole body here, but I'm moving my arms back and forth like a train. And were we in person, we would circle the room together and say these 4 components of talk. So keep it going. It's keep the conversation going. As we have these back and forth exchanges, actual neural connections are being built in the brains of our children. And so we want to build understanding, not just fake that we know what the children are talking about, give them some of that target vocabulary and give some think time. Maybe we've asked a question or given a statement or a wondering that the child has never considered, and they need a few seconds to wrap their mind around it. So you're taking your cues from the student, and we say strive for 5, those 5 back and forth exchanges, but absolutely don't stop at 5. If you're in an engaging conversation, again, those are the things that build children's brains, actual building the neural connections and the pathways in their brain as we have those back and forth conversations. So we're going to watch a couple of videos of what it looks like to talk with children at different points in their development. This is Jo, and she has Sebastian, who is an older toddler, an older infant, younger toddler. And then we'll see an example after this of a pre-K student and teacher engaged in the talk strategy. So we'll watch both of these videos and then reflect together on what we saw.
I see you playing in the mirror. I see you looking at yourself. Who is that? It's Sebastian Peekaboo. Who do you see? There's JoJo. You walking? Where we walking to? Oh, I see you climbing over. You going over? Where we going? There's Sebastian. Come on. You walking back down? You going down? Let's come on. Hi, Bria. Hi, Bria. Come on, Bash. Go down. Come on, Bree. You gonna walk down with Sebastian? Let's walk down with Sebastian. Come on. All right.
In order to tune in, you need to find ways to enter the child's world and start conversations. You will need to observe her closely and patiently wait for the best time to begin a conversation. When the time is right, make a comment to the child about what she is interested in or what she is doing. To start, it's a good idea to just describe what you observe. Begin your sentence with, "I see that you," or "I noticed how you." Watch how Kizzy tunes in to strike up a meaningful conversation with Takira.
Oh, Takira, I noticed you're feeding your baby. Why are you feeding her? Oh, Jalen's not here to feed. Well, why do you or Jalen have to feed the baby? Why can't she feed herself? Can she do it by herself, or is she dependent on you to take care of her?
Dependent on me to take care of.
She's dependent on you to take care of. Why? Because what's that word we said babies are what?
Fragile.
Yeah, they're fragile, and we have to take care of them because they can't do it themselves.
I'm the baby mother.
Oh, you're the baby's mother. And so you're taking care of her because she's dependent on you to take care of her because she can't do it by herself because she's too small. So what else do you have to do to take care of your baby? How do you calm your baby down? What do you do to calm her down? You feed her milk so she can go to sleep. So what else do you do to take care of her, to comfort her? Oh, you put her in a rocking bed. You know what? I bet this baby is similar to somebody. Didn't you just have a new baby sister? You did? What's your baby sister's name? So what do you take care of Zion? So what do you do to help take care of Zion?
Feed her and change her.
You feed her and change her. So with Zion, can Zion take care of herself, or she's dependent on you to take care of her?
She can't do it by herself.
Let's hear what Kizzy has to say about her conversation with Takira.
The tune-in worked really well because I was able to make a connection between what Takira was doing at school with what she's done at home. So she's observed her mom and dad taking care of the baby at home, and so I asked her, what do we do to take care of babies? Because these are things she's already observed, and she was knowledgeable of the things that you need to do to take care of babies.
All right, so 2 examples, 2 different age levels, 2 different abilities to verbalize their thoughts. But you could see that back and forth exchange between the teachers in both classrooms. Even though Sebastian wasn't using words, Jonithia was responding to his sounds and his movements and asking him questions. So we'd love to hear here what you observed. We'll take just about a little less than a minute if you want to drop something in the chat. What did you see or hear? What was different about the video examples? What was the same? Or even what's something that you would really love to take away from these examples that you might not have thought of before? I see a response. The think time, absolutely. That's really important, even with Sebastian, who was pre-verbal, because she gave him a little bit of time and he vocalized. So he's getting that pattern of that back and forth exchange. Absolutely. Good think time. All right. Anybody else want to share? Okay, I see a question about those courses, those videos being in Spanish. And Darnay, thanks for dropping it in the chat. Those are going to come out really soon. I see here in the chat too that we saw the teacher being really intentional about her exchanges. So she gave herself think time too, to think about how to respond, and how that back and forth. All right, I see some back and forth exchanges there. Perfect. Well, thank you guys for sharing. Loved how the teacher used the students' at-home life experience and connected it with a play. Yes. And she did that. I love that video so much because it shows her tuning in not to what was going on at home with the child, but what the child was doing in the minute. And then was able, through questions and that back and forth exchange, to really pull out, oh, this is what you're doing at home as well. And this is what's going on with the new baby. So thanks, you guys, for that. And I will pass it here to Jen.
All right. So thanks, Jessica. So I hope you guys enjoyed all the content that we shared. Like Jessica said earlier, an hour is just never enough time to get all this wonderful information to you guys. But we do want to encourage you to keep the learning going. So here's a short video that may inspire you to do so.
We're in trouble. Our futures are at stake. The problem is teachers telling us to be quiet. And when they do want us to use our words, a lot of us don't have any. They want us to stop talking and pay attention. But I can't if I'm afraid I'll make them mad. We know that there are times when you need our attention. But if we keep on being quiet, we never learn how to use our words. And they will fall further and further behind. Let me show you where it starts. That's my friend on the changing table. There's our teacher, Miss Ellis. She always took good care of me, but I wish she would have talked with me. She just didn't know it was important. No one told her. This is the time that you need to start talking with children. We are beginning to put words together even though you may not understand us yet. So we want to learn from you. But the talking shouldn't stop there. That's Miss Fredericks. She never told me to be quiet, but she did tell me to catch a bubble or to zip it.
I need you to catch a bubble. You need to stop talking. It is way too loud in the room.
Catch a bubble? Are you kidding me? Why couldn't she just ask me to listen? Now, where do you think we'll be when we get to the 3rd grade? We're gonna be behind. That's what's gonna happen. School's gonna be hard for us. We'll have trouble with reading, trouble with writing, trouble with everything. Yeah, for a lifetime. And that's why we need you. We need you to give our voices power. And here's how you can help us. When you're changing diapers, tell us about your day. Tell us about what you're doing.
What did you enjoy doing today when we went outside?
We'd love to hear your voice and new words. And when you want our attention, try singing to us. Or try this. Listen up. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? See what I mean? Don't be afraid to use big words with us. We have big ideas, and we need big words to share these ideas with you. And support our home language. It only takes a little effort on your part. You can learn a few words to greet us.
Buenos dias. Hola. How are you?
Good.
Good. You ready to put your backpack up? You can take it out.
Now that's not so hard, is it? First of all, get down on our level. Talk with us. Use your words. Ask us what we think, not what color a banana is. Give us the words that we need to solve problems on our own. We need you to make us a promise. We need you to promise us that you'll never tell us to be quiet again.
I need you to catch a bubble. You need to stop talking.
Why would you want to silence us? Can you promise us? Can you pinky promise us?
All right, so I hope that video did it for you all. I saw a lot of people interested in the link to that video, and Darnay did a great job of sharing that with you all. So I hope you do copy and paste that link, share it with any and everybody you know. This is definitely something that is worth the, I'd say probably 2 minutes of their time. So thank you all for being cooperative and attentive during that video. So right now we are going to wrap things up with a reflect and share. So these questions, feel free to answer off mute or in the chat. If you have any ideas you'd like to share with us, anything that inspired you today, what are some ideas that you would like to try in your classroom? What would you like to try in the next coming weeks? And what questions you might have for me and Jess before we wrap up things today. So I see someone said they enjoyed the video. Glad you did. Ms. Curtis, anyone else would like to share? Yep. Miss Martha echoed. Miss Elena, she enjoyed it all. Thank you so much. Angela enjoyed the video. That's right, Miss Vicky. Don't be afraid to talk to the kids. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else would like to share? Anything you would like to try out in your classrooms? Please feel free to refer back to any of the links that was shared with you in the chat today. Those are all some helpful resources, and definitely do not shy away from coxcampus.org.
Yes, if you didn't have a chance to join Cox Campus prior to this or at the beginning, the next slide gives us a little bit of information as well. You can create a membership today. It just takes a few minutes, and everything on Cox Campus is always free. The courses, the resources, the videos, the links to these year-long journeys live there. Once we're done and they're up and live on Cox Campus, they stay there. So please take a minute to go ahead and join Cox Campus. We would love to have you as part of that community there. So we want to share just a little bit about, quick question about Cox Campus that I'm going to answer before we move on. So the membership, you do have to set a password and you do have to put your email in. But then once you are a member, you have access to everything on there. And the numbers continue to just rise as far as the number of courses and resources and webinars that are housed on there. So we'll look just at a few next steps after today. I know it was a quick hour, but we're going to go through these 9 ecosystem elements through the course of this school year. So the next year-long journey for the Birth to 5 team is on January 18th next year, same time, and it'll be around integrated planning and teaching around an anchor book. There are other year-long journeys around instructional coaching and kindergarten through 3rd grade tracks. So you can find those on the events page in Cox Campus. But before you jump off today with today's session, we would love for you to take a quick minute and tell us how we did. There's a webinar poll that'll be posted here. If you'll take just a few minutes before you duck out for the rest of your day and just give us a little bit of feedback on how the session went today. If you found it helpful, what was helpful to you. It will really help us to craft further year-long journeys in a way that meets the needs of our audience here. But it has been absolutely fabulous to work with you guys today, and hearing your responses and your engagement is so encouraging. So thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time. And as always, we're here for you at Cox Campus. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out via Cox Campus, and our team will get back to you.
Thanks, everyone.
And these are just a few ways you can find us as you're filling out this poll. You can find us on Cox Campus. You can find us absolutely in Facebook and on Twitter and on LinkedIn as well. So these are our links here if you're looking for us on any of those social media platforms. But thank you all for your time today.